I guess.
You ready? We'll call this workshop to order. Mrs. Wade, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, we are here to talk about the process with the clearinghouse. There are a few things before I go into that I feel like that have been said that I need to address. So first of all, it was called into question whether I have visited all 3 schools, high schools, to see who was vetted or cleared. Yes, I have. I have visited all 3 schools. One school I asked one person to leave, and one school I asked 2 people to leave because they were not cleared. So I wanted to clear that up, make sure everybody understood that.
Thank you.
Secondly, it was said that I intentionally went to a football practice to get a school off of their game before a game with another rival school. First of all, I find that insulting and disrespectful. If you know me, that's not the kind of person I am. I could care less about a football score. Yes, my child does attend Chiefland High School, but my loyalty lies with Levy County. Now, if it was golf, it might be a different story. But she does not play golf. She plays golf, not football. So anyway, I wanted to clear those up. I take this part of my job, just like I do every other part of my job, very seriously. It is always a concern to me that people that interact or have access to our students are properly cleared and vetted. Even when we've done all the things have happened, and it makes me sick at my stomach, and I'm constantly questioning myself, what else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we do? So anyway, I want to get that off my chest. So the clearinghouse has been around for a while. Medical professionals, if you are going to be a foster parent, adopt a child, you are in the clearinghouse. And so several years ago, before the legislators decided it would be a good idea for school districts, and honestly, when we get through this whole process, it will be a good thing. There's just a lot of growing pains. So we have a process to get everybody in, and it's a 3-year process. So as we're going through this, some people that are coming in are already in the clearinghouse, so there's no cost. We run them, we check them against our regulations that we are to hire by, or the clearinghouse does that, and then we add them and they're good. Obviously, some people aren't, and so that's where some things have come up. Let me also say this, I am risk adverse. It's part of my job. I don't like taking risks. I avoid them at all costs. And so I don't like the idea of exemptions, I'll just say that. But if that's what you decide to do, I will work within what you have given me, but I would like clear direction if that's what we decide to do. I don't work in the gray, I want black and white. So if that's what you decide. So when we were first trained on the clearinghouse, this was supposed to start about 2 years ago. It was delayed. As you can imagine, putting 67 school districts into a clearinghouse is a monumental undertaking. I was nervous about little old Levy County. Can you imagine what Miami-Dade or Broward or Orange County, that process, that's just mind-boggling. So now that we're in, we're working through it and it's fine. We did not get a training when we were live on the system. So we were about a couple weeks out, so we didn't even have access to the system when we got our training. The poor gentleman that was on the phone, and it was like a NEFET group almost of training. We started asking questions. He had to get off because he couldn't answer our questions and had to get somebody else on. So we were quite worried. But I will admit, once we've got into the system, it's really not as bad as what we thought. So we're working through that. We were also told there would be no exemptions. And actually, the HR directors were kind of happy. We're like, listen, somebody comes through and they have something, it's not our decision anymore. Because I'm not a lawyer. That's what we pay David for. I'm not a lawyer. And so we were like, hey, this is off of our hands. Well, now I have learned you can have an exemption. So one of the things I wanted to tell you, there's a handful of people that have been denied, a very few handful. 2 people that were denied have gotten cleared, and it wasn't through us. They went back through the clearinghouse and got cleared. I don't know how they did it. I tried to ask. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. When somebody's denied, I don't get a letter. I just get a form that says ineligible. I don't know why, I just hypothesize. But again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a fingerprint expert, so I don't really know. They're not being denied for DUIs. They're being denied drug charges, major instances, and these could be many, many years ago. Most of them are not current things, but they could be many years ago. So that person, whoever's denied, they do get a letter from the clearinghouse, and it tells them specifically why they were denied and the process to go through. So I don't know what that looks like. And we weren't told that that was gonna happen either. So again, we're learning through this. So when I reached out to other districts to see what they're doing, a couple of districts said they weren't doing any exemptions. One district said they did one exemption for a restricted contractor. So I'm thinking probably somebody that was maybe doing a project, maybe a maintenance project or something, and maybe had some sort of barrier where they weren't going to have really a lot of direct access to students, or there was going to be somebody there with them. That's the only thing I can think of. Some are considering, but I don't believe that they have gone through with it. If the person had a felony after so many years and then they got all these letters of support or convincing evidence that the person has overcome. So again, I haven't gotten a lot of clear direction. I think districts are trying to feel their way through all of this too. So I do know if there is any sexual misconduct with a student that or a child, that is off the table. You cannot exempt that. And I think as a board, we wouldn't want that either. So that's my 2 cents. Questions?
So is there a list of things people can get? You know, what you say that you're not privy to them, but doesn't the clearinghouse provide a list? These are the things that you're.
There's a state statute that shows things that.
And it does say within the state statute?
There are a list of things that we shouldn't employ somebody if they were charged with a certain,
Okay.
you know, like, there's a certain code that they're given. The clearinghouse doesn't tell me
Right.
when I get I get a copy of their fingerprint report and it says ineligible or eligible, but it doesn't tell me exactly which of those things.
So does the clearinghouse follow those, the list of the
Yes, ma'am.
statute? And that's all? They don't add anything else to it?
No,
It's
ma'am.
exactly the way it is, okay?
And they're told exactly, the person who was denied exactly why, those things on their report.
And we don't see that.
We don't see that.
We do not
But
get
the
to see
person
that.
does, so
They
they
do.
know why they were denied.
Yes.
But you say that they're also given a process they can go through to,
That's what I
be
was
clear.
told. I don't again, I haven't seen the packet, so I don't really
right.
know.
So that's different than an exemption. This is where they can reapply for,
I think they must have to provide additional documentation.
I see.
Like, you know, I don't know why they couldn't see everything. I don't know the process, but like maybe somebody was charged with a felony, but later it was knocked down to a misdemeanor and they couldn't see that on the report, but they have to provide those court documents.
So if we had a situation like that and this person reapplied and you have already dismissed that person, what do we do then?
Because we can bring them back.
That,
How long has the process been from those? You said there's 2 that's been reinstated. Was there a long process between their denial and?
One was
the
like a day.
Okay, so it's like, oh, he had this piece of paper, he submitted it, showed that,
Yeah.
maybe like I said, a
It
felony
was
got
like a
changed on
day.
this meter and then,
And I was a little floored too. Like it was back in the 90s, and I really didn't expect it.
Right.
So when it got, I was like, oh, okay. And
all you got was denial. You didn't see the reason.
right.
But
I
he
was
did,
hypothesizing-
or she did,
I
whatever
was
it is.
hypothesizing because that was the really only thing on his report, on his fingerprint report. So that was all it could be. And so he called them, and I don't know, he submitted whatever documentation he needed to, and he was cleared. The other one took several weeks,
Okay.
but it was an athletic coach, and so it's not like it was a,
Employee, that was employee. That's why I was wondering, what do we do with that employee during that period?
Right.
well, most of the, so I know like, as we're putting our current employees through, like, let's say, I mean, I'm not worried about anybody that we have employed with us right now. But let's say we're putting them through and they come back, there is an exemption process for that, that we can grandfather those people in. It's just new people that we're putting in. They told us there was, there's this other process. So, and we haven't had to do, any of our current employees, we have not had to ask for an exemption on, so.
What is the exemption if so it
It's
happened,
we-
is there, like, do y'all have a criteria you're saying that you would grandfather them in?
Yeah, we have to go in the clearinghouse portal, and we have to write that this person hasn't been employed with us since whatever date, and we cleared them in our system back then.
Ms. Lake had something.
That was exactly where I was gonna go to try to bridge what she asked. It wasn't current employees that we're necessarily talking about right now. We're talking about new or coaches or volunteers.
Yeah, so we don't have, I haven't had this happen on any
Right.
current, which is great.
Well, yeah.
And why would we want to make an exception on new employees if the clearinghouse tells us that that person has been denied? Why would we want to make an exemption for someone who's going to be working directly with our children? I don't understand.
I too had something to say like you at the beginning of the meeting because I got pushed back after the last meeting. And I just want to clear the air also that it's my job to ask questions. And I'm not questioning anyone. I know you weren't directing that. But it's my job when I have constituents across the county calling, asking, and I don't know something.
Then you have to ask so
It's
you
my
can
job. I'm not
answer.
questioning. I'm just questioning the process, not
Right.
the person.
Right.
To be clear. And trust me, I've lost friends, not gained friends as a school board member. But that's my job, to ask questions. And then when I asked Mr. Delaney, and I said after the meeting, like, what does this look like to do an exemption? And he told me, well, this is gonna ultimately fall back on the district, and you're putting the district, then I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't think it's our job to be judge and jury. And I'm of the mindset, if clearinghouse fails, then clearinghouse fails. And I'm sorry that it happened to you, but I just don't feel like we're in that's my opinion. I don't think that we should be in the business of looking at individual cases. I think that's gonna get us in a lot of trouble.
And it can't
It
be
sets
based
a
upon the
precedent,
person,
too.
it cannot be based upon the person. I think you
Right.
have to take,
Right.
that's the problem that we get faced with. Well, this person's great. Listen, one of those that got denied, I hate it because the person is great. I mean, I think they're a genuinely nice person and they have overcome all the things. So I feel bad about that. But at the end of the day, it can't be about the person.
Right.
It can't be a case-by-case basis. It has to be criteria
Right.
set if there's gonna be any exemptions.
If they have to be cleared,
And that's the liability that the school board's gonna take on by
Yes.
granting the exemption.
right, and that's the other thing I forgot to mention too. So if you decide to do exemptions, we just have to we have to understand that if something happened, it is gonna fall back in our lap, and then we're gonna pay David to defend us. And he's great at defending us. Having those, at the end of the day, just like our mission statement, is to educate students
Yeah.
in a safe environment. That means anyone that has access to our kids has to be clearly vetted and approved. Like I said before, we've done all the things and things have still happened.
Right.
And it's disturbing, that's all.
You-
We can't, there's certain things that don't show up on a fingerprint
Right.
report. It's just,
I was gonna say that too. Unfortunately, now, I mean, we know things that we can't even legally say
right.
where they clearly shouldn't be, but they pass clearinghouse, and what do we do? I mean, there's
Well, and
that.
so here's the other thing. Just because they've been cleared by clearinghouse doesn't mean that we have to approve them. I mean,
Okay.
just because the clearinghouse says, okay.
They're
yeah,
eligible
in
to
our
be
case-
hired, don't mean they have to be hired or approved.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
right. Just like, I mean, we have teachers that they have the certification, they meet all the criteria, but you get those references back and you're like, I don't think that's probably
Best fit.
yeah, they've gotten a great, yeah, they don't have anything on their background, they've never been reported to the state, but is that really who we want having interaction with our children?
And with that, though, I think, thinking through this and talking through this, we have to be very careful about the things that we might not know and then make a decision on. And then we're putting ourselves out there, well, you did it for this person, how come you didn't do it for that person?
That's why I don't.
And I think that's when it gets into,
Right, that's why you can't, like I say, it can't be a case-by-case basis.
Right.
So it's like that
It's
side.
not a
And
personality.
you know, and like I said, I hate it for certain people. I
Mm-hmm.
really do, because it stinks. But it can't be about the person.
Well, it's kind of like the clearinghouse, but then they end up putting in there, well, there are exemptions kind of thing. At first, we thought it was going to be more black and white.
Right.
because they
It
get
should be
passed.
black and white.
It should be.
It's just
think
like
Mr. Doty
everything
should.
else.
Mr. Delaney, did you?
I was just gonna, two quick points. One, for someone to come up on the clearinghouse unless they have a pending issue going on, like a recent arrest, and it's still working its way through the court system, it's based on convictions. And if y'all
Okay.
have had any awareness of the criminal justice system, there are lots of off-ramps and plea deals before you get all the way to a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. If somebody's got a conviction
Right.
for one of these offenses, that's a pretty big deal.
There's no charge, it's a
Yes.
conviction.
Right.
Right.
Unless it's current, like it's fresh and it's working its way through the
Right,
system.
right.
All right, so that's one thing. The other thing is, I think essentially, not to put too fine of a point on it, but the question the board might want to ask themselves is, do y'all want to substitute your judgment for the judgment of the legislature when they listed this group of offenses and say, we're not that worried about the fourth one on the list and the seventh one on the list and the eighth one on the list, and we're willing to take the responsibility and the risk, and y'all think the five of you have got better judgment than the legislature did in drawing up that list.
The other thing, and to what David said, so one of the individuals that got denied, he's, I think he got his letter, but he was asking me, and I said, I don't know, because I don't get the letter, but this is what I'm assuming is probably, but you'll get the letter, whatever. He's like, but I pled no contest to that, and I did my, I said, it doesn't, he thought it went away. I said, no, it does, it's always on your record. I mean, I get that a lot, they're like, well, this happened back in whatever, and that shouldn't count. I'm like, no, it doesn't go, your criminal history doesn't go away, unfortunately. So I had to tell this gentleman, I said, just because you pled no contest and you did whatever, it's always gonna be on your record. Well, my attorney didn't tell me that. I said, well, I can't help that. I don't know who your attorney was, but he misled you.
So it's not just convictions then?
Well, what happens if somebody pleads no contest, the judge can enter a conviction
Oh,
based on that
okay.
plea of no contest.
Right,
And so they are adjudicated
right. But it
As-
stays,
as violating the offense.
okay.
And I don't know if that was the one or not. Like I said.
Right.
So, okay, I got all kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, what are some of the things on this list? I will admit, I haven't seen the list.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just an idea.
So,
I've got it pulled
yeah,
up if you want.
yeah.
Failing to report child abuse, any kind of sexual misconduct with underage person or developmentally disabled person, fraud, if it was a felony level fraud, adult abuse, neglect, or exploitation of aged or disabled adults, murder, manslaughter, vehicular homicide, killing of an unborn child by injury to the mother, assault, battery, if it was felony level, assault if the victim was a minor, aggravated assault. I'm not even a third of the way through the list. I mean,
Okay, so that's an
my
idea.
goodness.
So,
Those are
okay.
pretty rough.
And then, so my next question is, based on what you said, I apply to be a volunteer or a coach or a teacher, whatever, and I get kicked out, ineligible. I can appeal it based on that, based on what these other two guys did. Two people.
That's what I'm assuming.
Okay. So then, all right, and this is gonna sound stupid. So then the clearinghouse goes through that appeal process, and if you get appealed, you'll get a letter saying you are eligible. I'm assuming a letter. They're not just gonna show up, hey, Kaylee, they told me I was good. We get a letter.
Well, and then we can go back into the clearinghouse and we can print off where it says they are eligible.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I just want to be sure. So I myself, I'm not an exemption person either. Especially when it comes to this, and I think like we've been in expulsion hearings and you've heard me say, eventually we have to look at ourselves. And if this history is here, I'm all for you redeeming yourself. I'm not saying you're a horrible person. I'm not saying it's all. But at the same time, the most precious thing some mama has is in our care. And I can't run the risk of a relapse of something that happened 10, 15 years ago. So that's kind of why I'm a not an exemption kind of guy on that. The other part is, even though we can't look at it as individuals, as people, the general public is going to say, well, kind of like what we've already heard. Kaylee shut that down because her kid goes to Chiefland.
Right.
Knowing it's not true. Or, well, you know, so-and-so called the superintendent and that's why that happened. Or, you know, we hear that all the time, and we sit back going, that's not true. The other thing I don't believe in exemption as far as we have rules. Rules are rules for rules. Pretty soon you got an exemption. Okay, well, it's been 10 years since Billy got caught with dope. Well, pretty soon it's 5 years. And then pretty soon it's a year. And then pretty soon, we don't care. The exemptions become the rule. So that's why I'm not an exemption guy. I believe in, there's a handful of jobs in the world, and it may be because I have one of the jobs, so if there's certain things that if I get caught doing those things, get a conviction on
That's
certain
right,
things.
you're out.
I cannot do what I went to school
That's
to be.
right.
And you may be the best Little League baseball coach in the world, and your goal is to be a high school, college baseball coach, and you're wonderful at it. But there's certain things that you did that, you got to go a different way. And I'm sorry, and that's just the way I feel about it. And I happen to also know I'm Cameron Asbell, and I know how I am. I will tell you quick, oh man, we found this guy's great. Can't we look the other way on that? Because we sure need to win. I'm like everybody else. I want to win. So pretty soon I'm in here talking to the superintendent going, hey, can you get an exemption from Matt McClellan? He's really not that bad a guy. He did that back 20 years ago, but you know he's okay. He's okay now. And so we have, I believe, we have very scrupulous, ethical people here now. 5 years from now, who knows? That guy may show up. So it worries me setting that precedent.
Yeah, I think we're people that would agree to give people second chances, but not when it comes to the school system.
That's right.
Not when it comes
We
to,
can't
you know what I'm
take-
saying? I mean, there's certain, like I said, institutions that you can't do that. You know, there's some places that, hey, private business or whatever.
Private business,
So if we
that's
give
right.
second chances to tons of people, but we're not educating kids.
There's too much at
Right.
risk.
Too much at risk, too much.
I go back to, this was several administrations ago, and somebody had come in to apply to be a para, and he had a lengthy background. I know this individual, he's a pastor now, like he's done all, I mean, like, I would trust him with anything, but he still has those things on his background, and we wouldn't allow him to be a member of our staff. Does it stink? Yes. Because I knew the individual, but at the end of the day, it's not about the individual.
That's right.
So anyway.
So I think, you know, part of the whole problem with starting out new with this is that we were hazy on the whole thing. It seems
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's developed as it's gone
Yeah.
along. So I agree totally, Cameron, with what you said about the exemptions. But I would like to see, I don't know, have we included in our policy of employment, but actual, you know, the steps in the clearinghouse process that when somebody comes and they know they're going to go through it and, you know, that has to be somewhere where we could read it, you know what I mean, and see it. And as somebody coming in, I would want to see it, what's the policy of the, you know, for instance, you will have the opportunity to, according to the clearinghouse, to question the exemption, but it has nothing to do with us, it's, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there needs to be a
I think it's evolving a little bit too, based on what
It's
she's
just
saying, but
too
she was told
hazy.
one thing at training, and
Right,
then it ended up
it's
being a little
just too
different, so.
hazy.
Well, they know, they are alerted on the job application that they will undergo a fingerprinting. They
Right,
have to do a drug screen and a fingerprinting, so they're alerted to that immediately. When they come in, they have to sign a form that they know that this is gonna happen. So I feel like they understand. Now, obviously, the clearinghouse is a little different. I don't have a problem in adding that to our policy. I'm just not there yet because I'm still very unsure
Yeah, what you're saying.
this whole, you
That's
know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
Yeah.
And I also, here's my thought, I may be completely off, but I think as we start going through this process, I think things are gonna develop. Like I said, the clearinghouse is not new. What's new are school districts. And so our hiring policies are stricter than what would be somewhere else. So I kind of feel like things are gonna be developed a little clearer as we work. Really, we just started putting people in April of this year. So we are still very new to this process. We're not the only ones dealing with this. Every other school district. Can you imagine Miami-Dade? Yeah, that's why I live in Levy. But, I mean, I just can't imagine the number of people that are probably getting kicked out and they're having to deal with that. So I think things are gonna evolve. I don't have a problem with that. I just would ask for a little bit more time as to, and I don't have a problem coming back and giving you an update at a board meeting and saying, okay, this is where we are. We've had a couple more months under our belt. This is where we are. This is what I've learned since today, yeah.
If I may, Mr. Chair, that's also where NEFAC can be of assistance, because they can kind of work with several districts, and that's part of the dues that you pay for the basket of services you get from NEFAC, is that they do try to update their policies and roll that out once they've had the sort of lived experiences of several districts, and they try to push something out that's helpful to everybody at once.
I'm pretty sure, John can correct me, I think we updated one of our policies this summer, or last year, and it said that you would be put through the clearinghouse, if I remember correctly. But I'm sure as laws change, statutes change, that will keep coming across too.
Now, for years, they had the Jessica Lunsford thing, if you're going to be working. Does the clearinghouse do that too?
Follows that, yeah.
Follows that? We've always, you're on that end, I don't have a clue, but if I come to go to work for you, I know you're going to do a background check on me. That's said and done, right? Okay. And then what if I'm a University of Florida student coming down here to talk about economics to a class, a one-day speaker? Do I have to go through that process?
No, but you're gonna go in, your driver's license is gonna be run through Raptor, and in that situation, a school board employee has to be with you the whole time. Like, you're not gonna be ever alone.
Right.
So-
Where
so
you have
this
a
is
chance
for-
to go be next to a student.
People that'll be left with a child.
Correct.
Right.
Like, I go on the safety patrol field trip, you're gonna
Yes.
check me out.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna spend the night with some kids.
Exactly. So interesting enough, after our last board meeting, it was later in the afternoon, I got a phone call from DOE. It was Bureau of Community Family Engagement or whatever. And I don't hear from them. Like, I get emails, but that's, and so she was asking what our background screening process was.
Oh.
I was like, and so I verified. She's like, okay, thank you. So it was just a little interesting. I'm sure every other school district got that call, but it made me realize that somebody's
Just checking.
checking.
Have we had a lot of complaints about having to do this?
Not a little bit, but overall, I think honestly, your average person understands that student safety is number one. As a mom, I mean, I get it, I'm a school board employee, so I have my background done, but let's say I wasn't, I would want my background done so that I'm okay to be around kids.
Well, even at our church, my husband and I
Yes.
were
Yeah.
volunteers in the nursery. We had to go through
Yes,
We do, yeah.
yes.
that, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is.
we didn't have a problem with
Well,
it.
because
Right.
it just ensures
Right.
This is the best we can do.
Well, as a parent, you know, I like knowing somebody's been through the process. I can't go on this trip, the person they're going off with has been checked out, we're good. There's some things you ain't never gonna catch. And Lord knows
Right.
we've seen it, that just fluke up. But I feel better knowing that when Devin Whitehurst goes off with my child, they've checked him, he's good. As good as you can possibly find.
Right, I mean, yeah, exactly.
And then I would also be having a fit if they went off with Kaylee Wade and she's got all this child abuse stuff going on, you know,
Yeah,
whatever. Or
that's right.
Right.
she's a drug user. And you go, why y'all sent my kid off with that?
Right, right.
And just like probably all other parents, I don't care if it was 30 years ago. You know, there's a guy I know
That's
well
right, yeah.
who years ago got arrested for selling some narcotics. He doesn't do that anymore. He's a great guy. But to this day, people say, man, I can't believe he does this now and he did that. The conversation still has. It's a stigma that's there. But that falls back to, if you want to work in certain industries, don't do that.
That's right.
That's off your list of options now.
Well, and a good way to unfortunately, we live in a small community, and so, yeah, you've turned your life around, but nobody forgets it.
Nobody.
You know, unfortunately, you know, so. Yeah.
What's hard is like, I talked to Tammy about a certain individual earlier who he's pretty smooth and he jumps from school to school and he's not really affiliated with the school, but he has a file. But legally, we can't really prove anything, but you just know based on that file that he's not good around kids. Like, what do you do in that circumstance? Because we can't say, we know too much about you, you do not, you know, that's super frustrating.
Somebody's
That's
passed the
frustrating.
clearinghouse? Somebody's passed clearinghouse?
Yeah.
But did he go through clearinghouse? From what I was on, did he? Okay.
That's frustrating.
Well, that's like Cameron said, there's
That
always
goes
those
back,
that slip
yeah,
through.
that, the one that you said, that made me think of that, the one that just goes for the day to speak to kids and,
That's one thing, yeah, but when you have direct, could be.
Individual, alone contact.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Well, I think, I mean,
Clarified a lot.
yeah.
Okay, and if you want to, in a couple months, if I have some more information, as I'm learning, like I said, things have changed even since April, I'll come and give you another update. If something has changed, a process or a policy, they're letting us know. We have a conference in November that Mandy Smith and I go to, you know, is for certification personnel specialists. There is going to be a session on the clearinghouse. I would imagine that there will be a lot of questions for them. So if I learn something new that I think would, you know, be beneficial, I don't mind coming back and sharing that with you.
Okay.
David, can maybe we get an email copy of the census, so that way forever that, say, well, it must have been one of them. You know, I think it'd be good to have, you
Sure,
know,
I
to
can,
combat anybody that might say something to you.
That's right.
You know,
I think probably the easiest thing to do is just to share the two statutes that it's based on, they're all listed in there.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, but you can email it, you know, whatever we had it, you know, say, well, they must have done one of these things.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to know which one.
That's right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you just, it's on
It's
this
on the
list.
that's right, it's one of these ones on the list,
That's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
and that's all that matters.
that's right.
Yeah.
So do we
Okay.
need to do anything at this time on these exemptions, or are we just okay to meet and move on? Mr. Attorney?
But we're at a workshop, we're not
It's a
taking a
workshop, we
vote
don't decide anything.
on anything. This is board discussion. Based on this discussion, a board member could bring something forward on a future agenda if they wanted to, if you wanted to make a change from how we're currently operating.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
It's like you went to school.
Thank you.
Thank
Katie.
you.
Thank you.
My child has a golf match, I'm not mad or anything, but I gotta get to
Okay.
thank you, Ms. Wade.
Thank you, ma'am. This concludes our workshop, I suppose. Oh, no,
Well,
we're still here.
Deb-
Well, while we got some people in here, I didn't realize, some clarification while we're all together, that supplements, you know, we vote on the
Right.
supplements, that the school necessarily doesn't get the money to pay all those supplements per the person, is what I'm being told. is that if like a middle school coach is on there, but the school might not have the money to pay that supplement.
Oh.
'Cause I was told-
It's budgeted for, but,
I thought it was understood it was budgeted. If that position was at the school, then, whatever that sport or that place, and there was a line item somewhere in that school's budget to cover that.
I did
So,
too.
but that's how I thought, as a board member, that's what I thought.
Me
But
too.
So how does that work?
Yeah,
Those
so-
are approved supplements we can pay someone. We have to have the money to be able to pay them.
Right.
Since we don't have infinite resources, we give each school a budget. The school works within that budget
Okay.
to pay those supplements. At the beginning of a budget cycle, we have no idea how many coaches there are gonna be. So even creating a budget like that would be a little difficult. But the biggest issue is funding. So just those types of supplements run us close to $1 million a year. All supplements, including higher ed, that doesn't include higher ed, including higher ed, it's like 1.25. So it's a large pot of money already. So no, what you're approving is our ability to pay those supplements. You approve later the people to be paid, and you see that on the superintendent's agenda. But no, that is not, you aren't the only one that's had that misconception, but if there just isn't enough budget to pay
Yeah.
every supplement on that list times how many people? How do we,
Right.
Yeah.
So it's up to the
Coaches
individual
all-
high school and the
Yes.
principal, the
all of schools get
administrator.
budgets, get supplement budgets, but I'm gonna turn it over to John in just a minute, but the high schools are where it becomes a little bit difficult
Right,
because they
okay.
have all of those extracurricular
Right.
Right.
activities. And this year, especially given the budget circumstances, principals are having to make a decision on curricular versus.
I gotcha.
And so they say, as me, that's me, you talk or
So-
whatever, but I just want that explained to the rest of the board members, because
Yes,
I was
thank
under
you,
the impression
Bill.
that if the
Yeah.
supplement, then there's, there's
Right.
money in that budget to pay that person.
Yeah.
But, it was explained that there are certain supplements, that don't get paid, even though there's a budget, amount, not a budget amount, but there's an amount that we
Right.
agreed to
That we
pay for that
approved.
position.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's really up to the discretion of the principal.
Right.
So they get a budget. So, let's say Williston Middle High gets 73,000. Now, some of the supplements are automatically paid by the district. So most of the 72,000 would be those that is at the discretion of the principal to pay or not. They could have 6 head football coaches for all we care, as long as they stay within their budget.
I see. Okay.
Or they could have no basketball coaches. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, it's up to them, depending on the needs of the school, to make it work within their budget.
Okay.
But they don't, they don't get unlimited
Yeah.
coaches because they gotta stay within their budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, my thought was, you see a head coach, an assistant coach for football, and
Yeah.
whatever, I'd say, probably one assistant for football, maybe just a basketball head coach, maybe assistant. And then the school board knows, okay, well, Chiefland's got this program, FFA, they got the computer at the Bronson, don't have every place, so all those, and then to turn around, well, then we allocate that amount, based on maybe the previous year, to that school, that much to that school, based on what sports or what extracurricular activity, club or whatever, there's that list we approved is that long. That's what my assumption was that's how it was allocated, was based on, historical, what these people have and what programs each school has. But that's not the case, so how do you allocate, like, what's your 72,000 at the Williston, how
They
is?
never changed their priorities, what they wanted to fund. For example, in the case of Williston, they decided to pay 2 additional curriculum coaches. I gave them 2, but now they have 4.
Oh,
So,
wow. Uh-huh.
in other words, maybe they chose to focus on curriculum instead of athletics.
Gotcha.
Was that, that was the.
But how is your budget, how do you come up with the
I
72,000?
get the budget from Ms. Lake.
He gets the budget numbers from me, but the budgets are based on the number of programs in the school and what we've done historically.
Okay, so it is kind of based on
It
that.
is, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying, it is kind of like what you say, except what happened, I think, this year, there's a multitude of things that could make it feel like they have less budget. It's my understanding the specific thing we're talking about actually came down to like just 2, so it wasn't quite as big as it originally seemed like it was. But what they do is, some of the schools are heavily reliant on booster support, especially in the area, I know of baseball. I don't know about football, how much different schools, but you know, that's different in every community. So it's my understanding that last year, Williston had a heavier reliance on a booster club that maybe wasn't going to be there this year, and it suppressed the amount of money that had been spent. So they were given the budget in relationship to what they spent the prior year, every school was. Now, if a new sport's added, then we have to look at that and add a new sport.
Right.
That's gonna be difficult to keep up with when on the other end, you're trying to pay salaries and you have a deficit. So this year, that might be difficult. For example, Chiefland had no head coach for the last 2 years or whatever that did not take a supplement. So when their budget was created, there was no historical supplement for a head football coach. And no head football coach.
What did you say?
I do want to add to her what she was saying. So the way Mr. McClellan would do it was he would basically give me a little budget too and say, here's your budget, pay your coaches, right? So I would
Yeah,
have to,
divvy it out how you want to, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
that's out. And, you know, I could stretch that $25,000 he gave me. I was just kidding. That's, I told him I was going to say that. No, you know,
Right.
the little piece
Right,
that he
right.
gave me,
Right.
I would have to, you know,
Yeah.
work it out, you know.
I mean, truly, I mean, look at the supplements, to me, it's not a whole lot anyway,
Right.
from what you do. You know, I'm not saying it's big money, but I'm just saying,
Right.
you know, I'm just trying to figure out the money side of it, you know, how that's allocated. You know, if you get so much, but then the principal turns around and spends it somewhere else, maybe.
I don't allocate school level. This was the first year that I gave advice on what to do school level. But overall, what we're gonna spend between district support and school support. But this year I did give a lot more advice than I normally do because we'd also increased the supplement. So I took every supplement from last year, plugged it into a new salary schedule. What they spent last year at the new rate is the amount they got.
Gotcha.
I think there was some sticker shock because there was some other stuff going on last year that I couldn't know just by looking at a spreadsheet.
So it had always been my understanding, like, for example, you have a head football coach that's not taking that supplement. But, and I don't remember what the dollar figure is, but say this is $1,000, but he's got 4 assistant coaches. That school could divide that between those assistant coaches, but we've allotted this money. My question falls more back to what Mr. Lott was saying. They have 2 curriculum coaches, but now they want 4. Why couldn't we, why is that not listed on the school budget? If that does that make sense the way I'm saying that?
It's still the same theory. They have just, what he's saying is, you still only have $50,000 to work with. When you chose now to move 2,000 of that over to an additional cost for your curriculum coaches, you don't have 2,000 over on the other side for athletics.
Yes, I get that, but at the end of the year, do we have that budget that says this is where that went?
Yeah, well, we would just run how the supplements were paid. And every time they want to approve a supplement, they send a form to Mr. Lott, who is keeping up with how they're spending it, but he's not dictating, whoa, you might want to think about baseball, you got too much in curriculum coaches. No, he's letting those principals.
And I'm fine with that. I just don't like, we're sitting here voting on arbitrarily, we got 4 football coaches. I'm just making this up. But in reality, we have no football coach and 4 curriculum coaches. And when you get at the end of the year, we paid these guys curriculum coaches, not football coaches. And I'm probably making this much cloudier than it needs to be.
Yeah, you're not voting on that. All you're voting on in a supplement form is you can pay that money for that activity.
Okay,
You don't know if that activity is ever going to occur.
okay.
When it does occur, when the principals do decide how they're going to spend it, we have a form that tracks the person and what the activity they're performing, and that flows through the superintendent and Mr. Law. But he doesn't tell them how they have to spend their budget. They could spend it all on curriculum and nothing in athletics if they wanted to. Some schools have more support and boosters so they can eke out a little bit more in other areas because they have heavy booster support in maybe baseball or basketball or football.
Yeah, but it's my understanding booster clubs aren't supposed to pay people.
Booster clubs have paid supplements directly to the person. They're not, as long as I've been here.
clubs have?
I was told by a
Yeah.
previous attorney that that was illegal.
For them to pay a.
That's what I was told previously, not by this, a previous attorney.
How is it paid to them? Is it,
Yeah.
I mean, just a direct payment from the club?
Booster, I don't know.
I was sure curious.
And I think.
It's not, well, it's not obviously, it's not going through the school if you don't know about it. Right.
It's a unkept
It's its own
secret
entity.
that,
It wouldn't
hey,
go
meet
It
me in
wouldn't
the
go to the
barn,
school.
there's an
Yeah.
envelope of money. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
That's just what I have heard, but
Yeah.
that happens outside of us.
Yeah, and I don't want it to involve us.
Melissa has something to say.
Well, I have a related question, but with FFA. So finding ag advisors is hard. We've had a real struggle. And so we're entertaining right now, supplementing as an alumni, their supplement they get from the district to make it higher. And so I guess this is a great
Is
place
that-
to ask the
is that
question,
legitimate?
Is that allowed?
Can you do
And
that?
how can you pay them?
Wow.
So
I'm
it's
surprised.
going to, there's a couple of different issues that are popping up there. I'm not aware of an immediate prohibition. I don't know that the school district has a responsibility to police that and make sure it never happens. I need to check that to confirm it, but I just haven't come across that. I have seen in the past a concern being raised about disparity of athletics on the classic Title IX sense, that if a lot of money and resources is being flowed, even if it doesn't come directly from the school district, to support certain sports, especially certain sports that are more male participate than females, I think that in the past that has raised Title IX issues that have been looked at. If we are supplementing the salaries of instructors who are, regular payroll W-2 employees of the district, I think that starts to create issues about how is that income being reported and all kinds of other things. It's different than somebody who's more like a 1099 contractor coach.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to pump the brakes on that.
If
and
they're an
have a deeper
employee,
discussion.
they should be paid through us.
Yeah.
If they're not an employee, which oftentimes, what the situations I'm talking about, they're not an employee.
Right.
There could be situations of employee, and I don't want to know about it. They're also not employees. But for tax, for IRS, tax, all the good things, W-2, we would pay and bill that entity back. That's how we handle ticket takers that are paid for taking tickets at football games, internal accounts.
Yeah.
We pay them from the district and we bill back the internal.
Right, but they're all employees, right?
They're
Yeah,
employees. If they're
right.
not employees, the school can pay them directly.
Right.
Yeah, I had heard as far as boosters go, that if they're not a school employee, that the boosters can pay them and it's no problem. Because the school board doesn't have anything to do with it, is what I was told.
And I'd go back to, I don't think there's a specific prohibition on that
Right.
happening, because it's also fairly widespread.
Yeah, it
around
happens
the
every
state.
day.
There are some downstream effects that can crop up that might need to be looked at if only certain sports are getting booster support.
Gotcha.
And it's the other sports facilities are falling down.
But if the school board's not aware of these payments, how could,
Yeah,
if it
we
still
can't police it.
Yeah, how do we police it? I mean, just
I-
theoretically, it's Title IX stuff.
I think that we have a responsibility to make sure that the experience is equitable between
Sports.
different sports, different participation. So,
I only look at what we control.
Yeah, right.
I don't know anything going on outside.
Right.
And my question was, it was posed to me years and years before Mr. Delaney. So I say, and I was a new school board member, I said, hey, can this be done? And the person said, oh no, that's not legit. They can't do that. And I was like, okay. And that was the extent of my conversation. We didn't get into this is why. It was just, okay, good enough for me.
Now,
so
we can't pay directly out of internal accounts.
Well, now, this was, the question was, Booster Club wants to know, can they pay these supplements?
Okay.
That was my question. Oh, no, you don't want to do that. That's
Cameron's the head football coach, and I've given him $5,000. You're the head women's basketball, and I'm giving you $1,000. You're saying down than that.
That could.
Even though that, me, not as a school board member, as me as a private person and all that, you're saying that somehow we could be drawn into some kind of Title IX?
I think more of the concern would be if the boys' basketball coaching staff had 7 coaches and analysts and physical therapists, and
Right.
they leather couch on their special bus that took them to all the games. And, you know, getting foot rubs and all that kind of stuff. And the girls have to pile in a broken down VW van to get to their game. That there's gonna be a responsibility on the district side to look into.
Right.
Is that a similar experience?
Yeah.
Even if the Booster Club's its own entity and has its own,
Yeah. 501c3 or whatever status. and then, yeah.
Sure, and I think, going to Mr. Whitehurst's example, single payment made to a coach on a higher revenue generating sport that's got a bigger, you know, gate over the course of the season, I don't think that that's the kind of issue that I'm talking about. But I'm saying when it's, the facilities are different, the services that are available to the athletes are different, you know, those kinds of things. One group has a Huddle subscription, and they're getting to see analysis of the plays that are gonna be run against them, and the other group is like, it just,
Right.
you know, has a deflated basketball.
Okay.
That's the kind of thing that I think is more problematic.
Okay.
Kim, I have one question. I can't remember because I brought this up last baseball season and now here we are volleyball season, but it's up to the principal to set ticket prices, right? And
The principal, yes, but they work very closely with the AD.
Right.
To do that, correct?
And we decided against doing like a flat price across the county, right? Didn't we talk about that last?
We talked
We
about
did
it.
talk
about
It
Okay.
does
remember
not
you-
mandate ticket prices. Ticket prices are solely at the discretion of the
Right.
principal and the school.
Right. Okay.
But they have a lot of expenditures that they're having to address.
Yeah,
Referees
yeah.
And umpires and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I think it would make sense for them to all be on the same.
I do too. I do
And
too.
I was thinking they were, but maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
This year, but it would make sense for the schools to be on the same
Right.
amount for tickets.
The part-
How about
And-
mandate Bronxton charge the same as Williston that draws bigger crowds, or maybe has more home games? That would be incredibly unfair to do that to a small school.
Yep.
I think incredibly unfair too is $10 across
Oh,
the
yeah.
board for student ticket prices, even though with the expenditures.
Oh, yeah, because you go
Because you don't
to
have a
neighboring
crowd, no one's
counties,
going.
you
Yes.
go to neighboring counties,
And
it's
it's
$6 to
free.
get in, and the kids
And
under
free
12
for
and under
students.
free, or students,
And
so it's
that-
like,
yeah,
how do we charge $10 for everybody that walks through that gate? I mean, I'm not saying it's y'all problem, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
But then you go to neighboring counties, and they, you know, they don't have the same rates as us,
Yeah.
and it's the same sport and everything else, so it's like, I don't, yeah.
And no one's there. No one's at the game. The kids aren't at the game.
Right, yeah, when you,
Because they
it takes
can't
you,
afford
cost you
it.
40 or
Because it's
50
too
bucks to take your family
Yeah,
to the game, and
right.
you're going.
3
to-
games a week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hey, I'll just say that Williston electricity is very expensive.
oh, yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Every time you
true.
turn the stadium lights on, it's $500.
oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Wow.
Every time.
Real?
If it's on
Oh,
for a
yeah,
minute.
All right, City of Williston's still like the highest in
And I
the,
just meant volleyball. I meant like sports that are having 3 games a week, a family of 5 that
Oh,
are
yeah.
paying. And the
volleyball,
students
basketball,
are,
yeah,
we
baseball.
even, I think it was talked about doing like a,
Student
any
pass.
kid that's playing a sport gets a discounted price, like a $5 even,
That would be,
something.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
something.
they're,
or, some, you know, academic,
Just-
you know, somebody that's,
I don't know about every school, but there are, passes, family passes that they're utilizing. I know, I was working with Stacy, and she's doing one for volleyball, and I think the family pass is like $125 for a family of 4 for the year.
yeah.
yeah, I like the idea of everyone being on the same, because I know Williston, for example, it's a $10 flat fee, student, adult, and then if you do GoFan, that's cash, and if you do GoFan, I think it's 9 and 8. I just feel like it's so high
yeah,
for 3 games a week. Football's different.
Right.
1 game a week's different.
And that's where the pass could really.
Yeah, I know. I wish we could get on the same.
Why not? 2 years ago, they had Williston Pass, but it was like $350 for a student. And I'm like, who's gonna pay $350
Yeah, that's not
for?
gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's 35 games for a kid?
We could have the conversation at an admin meeting and put it out there
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
something to discuss.
I'll share what Jennifer does. She, I think if parents come to 2 psych meetings, they get into
Ooh.
all athletics for
That's
the
a good
entire
idea.
season, for the entire
Oh.
year for free.
That's a great
Here's the
idea.
thing. She's
Wow.
been running it for like 2 years. She's only had 2 parents ever do it.
No.
Oh,
There's
my
not been a huge
goodness.
turnout on it.
So,
Ah,
a
it's a
great
good idea.
but-
Yeah.
Well, we had a thing at Bronson where if you were an athlete, you got to go to the other games for free.
That's what
Usually
that's
does
how it
that.
used to be.
Yeah,
Oh, you guys do that?
yeah, you could, kids could
See?
go.
Yeah.
Well, it's if you're an athlete in that season, so if it's fall.
Right.
So if you're cross country, any of
Right.
that, then you can get into anything. So
Right.
Yes, yeah, it was yes, that's what we did at
Fall,
Bronson.
winter, spring, sport.
Which like football can't go to volleyball and vice versa, so that's,
Yes. Yeah, they could go, everybody get it free, if you're an athlete in that season. Kids.
That's a good idea, I think.
Yeah, Bronson did
it's
that.
just
Because
Steve.
you want the kids there.
And they're
Oh, yeah,
not, the kids
absolutely.
aren't there, that's what kills me, yeah.
Right, right. It gives you some of the home field advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need more people to be referees,
Oh, yeah. The referee is sure.
because that's terribly expensive. Why don't you guys
Oh,
go
yeah.
do something for yourself? Learn to do
Trainers.
something.
We need a trainer.
And we need
Well,
a
I remember-
trainer.
Contract
Trainer.
Yes.
To increase every year.
Well, I think,
Right.
Chief, a couple years ago, y'all had referees didn't show up, right? Wasn't you cancel a game or something with referees, I thought? Or,
We had that
Not
once.
while I was head coach, I had a heart attack.
okay.
We had that.
Or maybe right before, yeah. I
We had
thought,
a team just not show up.
it had a team, yeah, that's for sure. That's
You
a whole
had that
co-
leather couch bus he was talking about,
Yeah.
right?
We rode around in it for a while.
Oh, goodness.
So maybe talk about that in the next admin, that,
Yep, and then we can even
I
bring it up
can't
at the district instructional and
I'm
just
sorry?
feed some more ideas.
We got 30 more minutes.
What else you want to talk about? We got
Well, I
time.
need to talk to David about something.
oh,
If we don't have anything else.
Anything else?
I don't know that you could set a
Everybody's trying to
flat
break.
price.
You don't think we?
I don't know. Everybody's got a different situation. In a perfect scenario, if everybody was the same, yes, but not everybody's the same.
Right. And I think some just with the students and kids, I think that's what I'll be more looking for. Even the parent, I mean, it's expensive enough, but I mean, when you bring in the kids too, and it's the same
Yeah.
price, that's,
Yeah, man, $10 a head, and you got,
Right.
there's 5 of you.
that's right, that's right.
And then when they get there, somebody's gonna want a Coke and
Oh,
a
yeah.
hamburger.
Yeah,
That's
it shouldn't,
too
for a
much.
Levy County sporting event, it shouldn't cost you $70.
Well, Alachua County, our friends there, their 2 sons are playing football now. So it's $500 per student that they have to pay. And then each game, because Jim just went to one of the games down there, each game, no matter what, is I think $12 to get in the door. So every,
Good grief, that's in Alachua.
You're saying their kid, they pay $500
kids
to,
have
for
to
to play?
pay $500 to play.
Athletic
Oh,
fee.
my
It
gosh.
must be expensive, I said, there must be
Do that.
some schools that would
Oh, I
have.
have
So
friends
it's-
who,
You just pay $500, I don't know how many
Schools are charging
players you'd have.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
There's a $20 student fee,
yep.
but I don't believe all our schools are just charging that. Some are choosing not to charge that. But then again, there's negative feedback when you do that as well. So,
25.
but that would be one thing, is if the schools are assessing that student fee,
Yeah.
maybe they could reduce the cost of tickets, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah, well, Wilson for sure charges it, because I had to pay it for 3
I've had
kids.
Schools that want to address
Yeah.
it next year.
I mean, it would be
raise that
$25, to be honest,
participation
but
fee.
still.
to
And-
take- Because every year our athletic trainer fee goes up. The cost of conditioning, you know, you're talking about set prices, well, I can tell you, I've seen the reconditioning, you know, every year the football pads and helmets
Mhm.
have to be recertified and reconditioned. There's a big difference between Bronson's bill and Williston's bill,
Right.
because they have a lot more kids play.
Oh, yeah.
And so they have a lot more shoulder pads, they have a lot more helmets, and so that's a bigger bill than what, say, Bronson has. I talked about disparity already a little bit as far as electrical costs and things like that. The officials, every year the officials go up. So all, you know, we're not insulated to the fact that our prices for all the things that we have to pay, fertilizer for football fields, you know, if they're having to incur that, the paint for the football fields, all those things have increased in cost, and I think that, you know, obviously, I don't think our schools would want to raise prices. If they're raising prices, it's because there's a need to raise prices.
I think we should look into, if you're homeschooled or go to a private school, I think it's a privilege to go to our public schools and raise prices for those kids.
Yeah.
For sure. Didn't we kind of talk about that on the board meeting?
Yeah.
Over here, yeah.
I think
About
if you
maybe
can't
be able to
go
increase some
school
fees
here,
or something
you should
for
pay a
them.
little bit more.
non,
I don't
You
think
mean
it's,
different pricing
I don't
at the
think it's
gate?
legal for.
No,
us
not at the
to-
gate. I mean like the $20 activity fee, maybe we charge them $100.
We charge them
Yeah,
more.
you
if
can charge
they
PEP, but not, you can charge traditional.
Not traditional homeschool.
So.
But for private, we do charge?
Yeah, we would, for the, if they're on the.
If they're on the PEP scholarship, the step-up program,
Mr. Delaney.
Sure, and just wanted to make sure I'm clarifying that there is a fair share, that's what it's usually referred to, participation amount. But those usually, those are supposed to come with an opportunity for the student to earn that through some fundraising or volunteer work or whatever, because we're still providing a free public education. So I think that that's how that works, all these extra activity fees and so forth, whether it's in Alachua County or Levy or any other county.
I have a friend whose kid went to Buchholz and they had to pay money to certain, whatever sport costs this.
oh, yeah.
And I have a friend who's a coach
Oh, I
in
see.
Orlando. Now, this is at a private school, and if you want to play football there, your mom and daddy writing a big check.
Oh, yeah.
But your ticket don't cost but $5.
I mean, about every sport other than football I know of that, players have to usually pay a decent amount of money to play. Football's usually one of the only ones that, usually they don't make them, other than the activity fee.
Yeah, and each kid you see at a game running around, he's got about $1,000 on him.
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
While he's
crazy.
running around. That's,
Right.
You count equipment and just what he's wearing.
The player.
Yeah.
Right, a football player.
Not counting all the other stuff that goes
Right.
with it, from
Right.
trainer fees to
Guaranteed that $1,000
supplements.
cell phone too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more.
I did, I think now they're charging the same for all sports. It was a little different when I was there, it was a little cheaper of course, football costs the most.
Yeah.
And then, everything else is a little cheaper.
How'd you feel when you saw a kid take his helmet off and throw it? Based on the cost of those helmets.
He probably don't worry about the cost, he's probably more about the attitude.
Yeah, that, and, kids make mistakes, right? So there would be some correction there. I had, my brother coached with me, so I had a problem when he did something.
John Lott had a football coach over there that threw a set of them headphones.
Yeah,
and broke
yeah,
those,
yeah.
that I had kicked in to pay for, and
That's
that
right.
peed me off in the stand.
Yeah, no doubt. So, but yeah, you definitely, I think you probably had a bigger problem with you see it laying around, take care of your stuff. Yeah. But anyways, don't want to go off chasing rabbits, but it's really expensive. Really expensive. When I quit coaching, the send about 90 helmets back, just helmets for reconditioning was about $7,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Just for reconditioning.
Right.
And there, you could always
I had
count on
no
about
idea.
5 to 8 out of that 90 are gonna get, rejected. And then, so you've gotta purchase those helmets at 300 plus a pop to replace those. So that's just a reconditioning bill. That's not the cost to replace the ones that were rejected, so.
That's terrible.
It's a very
It's
expensive
expensive.
sport.
Any other subjects?
That's why a ticket's $10. That's why them schools charge you $500 to get to play.
That's right.
And uniforms are very expensive as well. You wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And some places want new uniforms every year.
Moms be writing that check. We don't have official logo.
Jeez.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
No, sure. Man, now it's time to talk about anything y'all want to talk about.
Well,
Within reason. All right, we can dismiss this workshop.